Welcome to the Deep Dive, where we meticulously examine your sources, peel back the layers of information, and unearth the most compelling insights. Today, we're embarking on a truly epic journey, exploring a figure whose very name is synonymous with immense strength and unparalleled heroism. Yet, as our sources reveal, his story is far richer and much more complex than you might imagine.
Indeed. Our mission today is to delve into the legend of Hercules, not merely as, a mighty strong man, but as this really multifaceted figure. His myths, his worship, his profound cultural impact, they've resonated across millennia. We have a comprehensive collection of material before us, spanning from ancient Roman interpretations right through to detailed accounts of his most terrifying adventure. This deep dive, it'll offer you a unique perspective, maybe a shortcut to truly understanding the nuances of his enduring legacy.
Okay, let's begin that. Let's explore this incredible figure, starting with how he actually came to be the iconic hero we recognize today. #tag 101. Who is Hercules? A Roman adaptation of a Greek legend.
Right. So when we distinguish between Heracles and Hercules, like our sources highlight, we're not just talking about a simple name change, are we?
No, not at all. It's actually a fascinating and quite profound journey of cultural adaptation. In Greek mythology, he's Heracles, son of Zeus, king of the gods, and the mortal woman Alcmena.
Right, the Greek original.
Exactly. But when the Romans encountered this legend, they really put their own distinct stamp on it. They borrowed the name Hercules through the Etruscan language. It was a process that saw the Greek Heracles evolve into forms like Heracles or Hercule in Etruscan,
Interesting.
and then eventually Hercules in Latin. This linguistic and really cultural transplantation reveals just how deeply integrated he became into the very fabric of Roman society.
So it wasn't just a translation, it was an adoption and integration. Precisely. And this Roman interpretation was crucial because it allowed Hercules to become this incredibly multifaceted figure. Our sources describe him as possessing, and this is a great phrase, contradictory characteristics, a fascinating blend of traits.
Contradictory characteristics, like what exactly?
Well, consider this. He's depicted as a hero of immense physical strength, obviously, a champion who selflessly protects the weak and vulnerable, yet at other times, he's shown succumbing to terrifying fits of madness, or, remarkably, even appearing in humorous, sort of lighthearted situations in Roman comedy.
Right, not something you immediately associate with him.
Exactly. This inherent adaptability was absolutely key to his enduring presence. It meant that subsequent artists and writers, from the Renaissance right up to our modern era, they could selectively emphasize different aspects of his persona. They could shape him to fit their own narratives, their moral lessons, or even political agendas.
Okay. So that's why Hercules is the name we usually hear, more than Heracles.
That's right. It remains the more commonly used name for the hero across Western art, literature, popular culture today. It's really a testament to the Roman version's enduring power and flexibility.
And his influence was so pervasive. You can almost feel his presence in the everyday lives of the Romans, can't you? I mean, our sources point out that common interjection in classical Latin, Hercule, or Mehercle.
Yeah, like a mild oath invoking Hercules.
Exactly, like someone today exclaiming, "My goodness," or something similar.
It's a remarkable detail. It shows he wasn't just some distant mythological figure stuck in temples. He was so deeply ingrained, he became part of the common idiom, just a natural expression of surprise or emphasis.
And we also see his widespread popularity reflected in Etruscan art.
Definitely. He frequently appeared on things like bronze mirrors, often under forms like Hercler, and that Etruscan name itself, Hercler, it was a direct derivation from the Greek Heracles. It happened via a linguistic process called syncope, where sounds are kind of dropped from the middle of a word.
Oh, like family, becoming family in casual speech?
Exactly like that. This subtle but significant transformation really underscores how myths can be reinterpreted and take on new life across cultures. It makes figures like Hercules relevant through changing times, even if their core identity undergoes a subtle shift.
It's a profound example of cultural adaptation, isn't it? How a story travels and changes.
Indeed. It demonstrates that myths are far from static. They're fluid, dynamic entities. They continuously evolve, reflecting the values, interests, and even the linguistic nuances of the cultures that embrace them. The Roman Hercules is really a prime example of this ongoing, dynamic process of cultural integration. #tag 2. troublesome birth and divine intervention.
You might expect a figure destined to be, a champion of the weak, a great protector. You'd think he'd have a relatively smooth entry into the world.
You would think so, wouldn't you? But with Hercules, his personal challenges, particularly his fraught relationship with divine authority, began quite literally at birth. This was directly linked to the relentless wrath of Juno.
The Roman Hera, Jupiter's famously jealous and vengeful wife.
Exactly. Her fury towards Hercules stemmed from his very existence as Jupiter's son by the mortal woman Alcmena. It was a blatant affront to her marital sanctity.
So Juno's fury was immediate, right from the start.
Oh, absolutely. Immediate and relentlessly persistent. Our sources recount that she dispatched two leeches, goddesses of childbirth, the Eileithyia, with the express purpose of preventing his birth altogether.
Wow, that's drastic.
It was drastic and cruel. But by a stroke of cleverness, Alcmena's servant, Galanthus, managed to trick them. She sent them to another room, allowing Hercules' birth to proceed. This initial skirmish, before he even drew his first breath, it served as a stark preview for a lifetime of formidable challenges orchestrated by the Queen of the Gods herself.
And that wasn't even the half of it. I mean, right after he was born, while he was still just an infant in his cradle, Juno's malice continued.
Right. She sent two venomous serpents into his nursery to kill him.
This is one of the most iconic images from his early life, isn't it? You see it in art.
Definitely. It's a testament to his innate power. But in a breathtaking display of what would become his prodigious, unmatched strength, the infant Hercules famously strangled both serpents with his bare hands.
As an infant, can you imagine the sheer power?
It's astonishing, and this precocious infancy, this incredible feat, is later cited as a significant reason for his, unusual association with children and childbirth.
That is unusual for such a warrior hero.
It is, but this early, undeniable demonstration of innate power is absolutely crucial to understanding Hercules. It immediately establishes his inherent, almost preternatural strength, setting him apart from ordinary mortals from day one. And more importantly, it highlights that challenging, often adversarial relationship he was destined to have with divine authority, particularly Juno.
Her persecution becomes a major theme, doesn't it?
It really does. It's a significant driving force throughout his legendary life. It indirectly pushes him towards those arduous labors that would ultimately define his heroism and eventually lead to his apotheosis.
But the stories of his early life deepen even further. There's one version of the myth connecting him directly to the cosmos itself, the Milky Way.
Ah, yes, that's a fascinating one. In this particular account, his mother, Alcmena, driven by a desperate desire to protect him from Juno's ceaseless wrath, she makes the difficult decision to abandon baby Hercules in the woods.
A tough choice for a mother.
Extremely tough. But it's here that Minerva, the Roman goddess of wisdom and war, equivalent to the Greek Athena, she discovers him. And in an audacious, truly remarkable move, Minerva then brings the infant directly to Juno herself.
To Juno? Why?
She cunningly presents him as just some poor orphan in desperate need of nourishment. Juno, entirely unaware of the child's true identity, the very infant she sought to destroy, unknowingly suckles Hercules at her own breast.
No idea it's him, the irony.
Exactly. And this is where we get the poetic, cosmic origin of the Milky Way galaxy. The myth recounts that during this unwitting feeding, Hercules, perhaps with that innate divine strength, bit Juno's nipple. Right. Startled and pained, she instinctively pushed him away, causing her divine milk to spray across the night sky, forming the luminous band we now call the Milky Way.
Wow. So his feeding formed the galaxy.
According to this myth, yes. And this accidental feeding, dripping with dramatic irony, inadvertently imbued Hercules with even further strength and power. It reinforces the idea that Juno's attempts to thwart him consistently backfired, unwittingly contributing to his eventual greatness.
So her own actions made him stronger.
Precisely. This early myth profoundly establishes Hercules' destiny and his unique, almost paradoxical nature, both divine by birth and mortal through his mother. It's a powerful narrative. It demonstrates how even divine wrath can, in a strange twist of fate, inadvertently forge an unparalleled hero. #3. Distinctly Roman myths and early worship.
So, as if his Greek origins weren't complex enough, Hercules also became deeply interwoven with distinctly Roman myths. It really illustrates just how profoundly he was integrated into the very fabric of their history and landscape.
Absolutely.
Okay.
For instance, he famously defeated Caucasus.
Caucasus, the monster near Rome.
That's the one. A monstrous, fire-breathing giant who had been terrorizing the Roman countryside. And this wasn't just another generic monster slaying, it was a specific local threat. It directly made Hercules a protector of early Rome, linking him to the nascent identity of the Roman people.
So he's tied to the geography, too.
Yes, he was even associated with the Aventine Hill, one of Rome's 7 hills, through his son Aventinus. It roots him deeply within the city's geography and foundational narratives.
It's truly captivating how a figure borrowed from another culture isn't just adopted, but actively shaped, localized, and integrated into daily Roman life.
It is, and this deep integration is especially evident in his role as a patron god. Historically, powerful figures like Mark Antony, the renowned general,
Right.
and later Emperor Commodus, a highly controversial but undeniably powerful ruler, both considered Hercules their personal patron deity.
Why him specifically?
Strength, indomitable will, raw power, yes. It reflects his significant status as an exemplar of ideals that were highly valued and emulated by Roman military and imperial leaders.
And his veneration was incredibly varied, extending far beyond just the battlefield or the halls of power. He wasn't just a god of brute strength for warriors.
No, not at all. Our sources tell us he received diverse forms of religious veneration, including that unexpected but significant role as a deity concerned with children and childbirth.
Which traces back to him strangling the snakes as a baby.
Exactly. Back to those earlier myths about his astonishing precocious infancy, and perhaps more predictably due to his legendary reputation for fathering countless children.
Okay, that makes sense.
What's more, there's that fascinating detail that Roman brides wore a special belt tied with the knot of Hercules on their wedding day.
The Hercules knot. Why was that significant?
This particular knot was believed to be exceptionally difficult to untie, so it symbolized marital strength, fidelity, and the sort of unbreakable bond of the new union.
That's a beautiful, practical, and deeply symbolic application of his legend, right into the most personal aspects of Roman life.
It really demonstrates his profound cultural penetration.
And we also see how Hercules' myth profoundly infiltrated Roman literature and popular entertainment, showing how they adapted and even, well, playfully reinterpreted these serious myths.
Absolutely. The celebrated conic playwright Plautus, for instance. He took the myth of Hercules' unconventional conception, divine father Jupiter, mortal mother Alcmena, and ingeniously transformed it into a full-blown sex comedy in his play Amphitryon.
A sex comedy. About Hercules' conception.
Yes. It vividly demonstrates the Romans' readiness to imbue even revered myths with humor and earthly drama. Then, on a much darker, more philosophical note, you have Seneca, the Stoic philosopher and tragic playwright. He penned the tragedy Hercules Furens Hercules Mad, which delves into his terrible bout with madness, a divine curse inflicted by Juno.
Exploring the darker side.
Precisely. This work masterfully explores the hero's complex, sometimes destructive, and deeply human aspects. It truly highlights those contradictory characteristics we discussed earlier. It showcases the hero's struggle with his own immense power and his volatile temper.
It's truly incredible how pervasive his worship became throughout the Roman world. I mean, during the Roman imperial era, he was worshipped locally all the way from Hispania, modern-day Spain, across North Africa, and through Gaul, present-day France.
That widespread and deeply ingrained influence wasn't just about military might or political imposition. It speaks to a profound cultural resonance, a shared belief system that extended far beyond the Italian peninsula. His image and virtues transcended regional boundaries, becoming a unifying symbol across a vast empire.
So what's really striking here is how a figure originally borrowed from Greek culture wasn't just passively adopted.
Exactly. He was actively shaped, integrated, and repurposed into the very fabric of Roman life. From becoming personal patrons for emperors and generals, to influencing matrimonial customs, symbolizing fidelity, and even providing subject matter for their most popular entertainment. Hercules became an incredibly flexible and enduring symbol. He could be adapted for diverse purposes and audiences, reflecting the evolving values of Roman society itself.
And Hercules' sphere of influence certainly didn't stop at the boundaries of the Roman Empire. Our sources reveal a truly fascinating cross-cultural connection between Hercules and the Germanic peoples.
Yeah, this shows just how far his legend could spread and transform. The renowned Roman historian Tacitus, in his ethnographic work Germania, he records a special affinity the Germanic tribes had for Hercules.
An affinity? How so?
He wrote that before charging into battle, they would sing of Hercules first among all their heroes. They used a powerful barditis, a deep, resonating battle cry or chant, not only to rouse their own courage, but also, interestingly, to augur the potential outcome of the impending conflict.
Wow, singing about Hercules to predict the battle.
Apparently so, and this is a prime example of interpretatio romana.
Ah, the Roman practice of equating foreign gods with their own.
Exactly, to make sense of different pantheons. In this context, many scholars interpret Tacitus's account as him equating the Germanic god Hunraz, whom we know today as Thor, with Hercules.
Thor and Hercules. Okay, I can see the similarities. Strength, protection.
Precisely. Both deities were archetypes of immense physical power, often depicted wielding a club or hammer, closely associated with strength, battle, and protecting their people. It represents a profound cross-cultural mythological exchange, where powerful archetypes resonate and find echoes across seemingly disparate belief systems. The Romans provided a lens to understand their neighbors' gods.
And this intriguing cultural exchange, it's further solidified by the appearance of Hercules' club amulets across the Roman Empire.
Yes, definitely. From the 2nd to 3rd century CE, these distinct amulets, shaped like his iconic gnarled club, predominantly made of gold, they began to appear throughout Roman territories, even as far as Roman Britain.
And they were explicitly linked to him.
Unequivocally. Our sources mention a well-preserved specimen from Colnippes, which bore the inscription D.E. Hercule, directly confirming its association with Hercules. These weren't just decorative, they were symbols of protection, strength, maybe even good fortune.
And then this amulet spread beyond the Romans.
That's what's truly remarkable. During the turbulent migration period, roughly the 5th to 7th centuries, this specific amulet type diffused rapidly from the Elbe Germanic area, spreading across vast swaths of Europe. These Germanic versions, often called Donar's clubs, reflecting the Germanic god Donar, another name for Thor.
Donor's clubs, okay.
They were crafted from more readily available local materials like deer antler, bone, or wood, sometimes bronze or precious metals, but often simpler materials.
So a popular grassroots adoption and localization of the symbol.
Exactly. And then, in a fascinating subsequent evolution during the Christianization of Scandinavia in the 8th and 9th centuries, these Hercules or Donar's club amulets were gradually replaced by the now iconic Viking Age Thor's hammer pendants, Mjolnir.
Wow, so a direct lineage of symbolic power, from Hercules' club to Thor's hammer.
It illustrates that direct lineage. Old pagan symbols subtly transitioning or being replaced by new ones in response to changing religious landscapes.
It's an incredible chain of succession for a single powerful symbol, isn't it?
It really is.
This persistent connection powerfully illustrates how mythological figures and their symbols can transcend their original cultural and religious boundaries, influencing beliefs, practices, material culture far beyond their initial context.
It profoundly demonstrates the malleability of myth. It shows how a potent image can adapt and integrate into new pantheons, local customs, evolving belief systems. It acts as a profound cultural concept that continuously evolves and transforms across the ages.
So the enduring power lies in resonating with universal human experiences: strength, protection, courage.
Absolutely. Because they tap into such fundamental aspects of the human condition, they can be continuously reinterpreted, adapted, and seamlessly integrated into diverse belief systems and cultural expressions over vast stretches of time.
So Hercules isn't just a figure confined to antiquity. His story underwent significant transformations even after the Roman Empire embraced Christianity.
Right. In the late ancient and medieval periods, there was a profound shift in how classical myths were understood. Mythological narratives were extensively reinterpreted through the lens of allegory, heavily influenced by late antiquity philosophy.
Allegory, so finding deeper symbolic meanings.
Exactly. It was a sophisticated intellectual exercise, a way for Christian scholars to reconcile and make sense of the vast pagan past within a new Christian theological framework.
Can you give an example?
Sure. Servius, a prominent 4th century Roman grammarian and a significant commentator on Virgil's epics. He interpreted Hercules' audacious return from the underworld allegorically. He saw it not just as a physical feat, but as a symbolic triumph.
A triumph over what?
Over earthly desires and vices. Or even as conquering the physical earth itself, seen as a consumer of mortal bodies. This reinterpretation allowed these foundational pagan myths to be understood as possessing deeper moral or philosophical meanings, rather than just being dismissed as pagan falsehoods.
So they found Christian relevance in him.
In a way, yes. What's also interesting is that some early Christian writings, often called patristic texts, even identified Hercules with the biblical figure Samson.
Samson. Okay, the strength parallel is obvious.
Exactly, drawing compelling parallels in their immense strength, their divinely ordained roles, and the trials and tribulations they both faced.
And this allegorical approach continued throughout the medieval period.
Yes, it consistently shaped his image. In medieval mythography, Hercules was presented as a formidable and positive role model. He embodied valor, courage, even wisdom. The monsters he battled were often reinterpreted as abstract moral obstacles representing sins, temptations, societal evils, rather than just literal beasts.
So fighting the Hydra became fighting temptation, perhaps.
Something like that. For instance, one ancient commentator or glossiter on classical texts noted that Hercules ascending to become a constellation, his apotheosis, showed that strength, particularly moral fortitude, was a necessary virtue for attaining a place in heaven. It's a fascinating Christianized perspective on his journey to divinity.
And this was all based on the Roman Hercules, not the Greek Heracles.
Largely, yes. It's crucial to remember that medieval mythography was almost entirely conducted in Latin. The original Greek texts of Heracles were rarely consulted. The Romans' Hercules was truly the dominant, defining figure for centuries.
Which raises that question you mentioned earlier. How does a mythological figure stay relevant through such dramatic, societal, religious, philosophical shifts?
Right, and the answer seems to be by adapting, by becoming a versatile vehicle for new moral lessons, for philosophical contemplation, and even for political legitimization. The inherent flexibility and symbolic depth of his story allowed him to transcend these profound historical periods, finding new meaning and purpose in each successive era.
Then came the Renaissance, a period of immense cultural rebirth, greatly aided by the transformative invention of the printing press.
Which ushered in a massive renewed interest in Greek literature, finally bringing those original Heracles texts back into broader scholarly and artistic circulation.
So did they switch back to calling him Heracles then?
Interestingly, no, not entirely. Even with the Greek texts now widely available, Renaissance mythography often still predominantly referred to him by his familiar Roman name, Hercules, or sometimes by his patronymic, Alcides, emphasizing his lineage from Alcmena.
So the Roman version still held sway.
It did. Prominent mythographers of the era, like Natale Conti and his profoundly influential 1567 work, Mythology, he extensively summarized Hercules' myths, almost exclusively under his Roman name. And what's particularly striking is that Conti explicitly continued, even amplified, the moralizing impulse from the Middle Ages.
How so?
He stated, quite definitively, that Hercules' wisdom and his great soul, rather than simply his noble bloodline or his sheer physical strength, were what truly earned him his extraordinary honors and worldwide reputation.
Wow, that's a significant shift. From brute force to inner qualities.
It is, emphasizing virtue and intellect alongside physical prowess.
And we see Hercules being used for political purposes even during the Renaissance.
Oh, absolutely. In 1600, the citizens of Avignon, France, bestowed upon Henry of Navarre, soon to be King Henry V, the lofty title of the Hercule Gallois, the Gallic Hercules.
The French Hercules, why?
It was more than just flattery. It was a powerful act of political legitimization, cleverly justified by a painstakingly crafted genealogy that traced the origin of the House of Navarre to a nephew of Hercules' son.
So they literally claimed descent from him.
Effectively, yes. So Hercules wasn't just a moral exemplar or a symbol of inner strength. He was also a potent emblem for legitimizing royal power, connecting contemporary rulers to an ancient, powerful, and universally admired heroic lineage.
It's truly fascinating how a figure born of ancient myth could be so effectively repurposed for the political narratives centuries later.
It absolutely is. It further demonstrates that the power of these mythological archetypes lies in their profound ability to resonate with universal human experiences, strength, leadership, triumph over adversity. By adapting and integrating into diverse belief systems and political landscapes over time, Hercules becomes a timeless symbol, a constant reference point for aspiration and power.
Okay, we've explored how Hercules evolved across cultures and centuries, serving various purposes, embodying different ideals. But to truly grasp the essence of his unparalleled strength, his unwavering perseverance, and his ultimate redemption, we need to delve into the capstone of his legendary labors. His 12th and final task, the perilous journey to the Underworld to face its fearsome guardian, Cerberus.
The big one, King Eurystheus, Hercules' cowardly and deeply vindictive taskmaster, specifically saved this for the very end. He believed it was utterly impossible, guaranteed Hercules' demise.
And the command was?
Simple, yet truly audacious. Go to the underworld and bring back Cerberus.
Bring back Cerberus, not just defeat him. Bring him back.
Exactly. This wasn't just a labor. It was a direct challenge to Hades, the stern lord of the dead himself. It was effectively a literal death sentence.
Yet Hercules, with his characteristic unwavering resolve, he just accepted it.
He accepted this ultimate test.
We need to understand the gravity of this command, right? The underworld. It wasn't just some scary place.
No, absolutely not. In Greek mythology, it's the most dreaded and forbidden realm. The grim kingdom of the dead, ruled by the stern and unyielding Hades and his queen Persephone, a place of eternal twilight where the souls of the deceased reside. Fundamentally, no living mortal was ever meant to enter this sacred domain, or, more crucially, to leave it.
So this labor wasn't just a physical challenge. It was violating cosmic order.
Precisely, a transgression against the very boundaries of life and death.
And guarding the treacherous entrance to this grim domain was Cerberus.
A creature of absolute terror and immense primordial power.
He wasn't just any monster, was he? His lineage.
Right. He was a child of the monstrous titans, Typhon and Echidna. That makes him a sibling to other infamous beasts Hercules had already faced and conquered, like the serpentine Linnaean Hydra and the fire-breathing Chimera. His family tree alone speaks volumes about the darkness and destructive power coursing through his veins.
And his description.
Right.
Pretty terrifying.
Oh, absolutely enough to induce paralyzing fear. Cerberus was typically depicted with 3 snarling, vicious heads, though some myths elaborated further, describing him with 50 or even 100 heads.
50 or 100 heads. Okay, 3 is bad enough.
Right. His fearsome mane was a writhing mass of venomous snakes. He possessed vicious lion's claws capable of rending flesh, and his tail was a menacing venomous serpent.
And his breath.
Poisonous. Capable of driving mortals to madness, his bark could shatter sanity and inspire absolute dread. His sole, unyielding purpose was absolute. Prevent the living from entering and ensure the dead remained trapped, maintaining the immutable cosmic order of Hades' shadowy realm.
So he wasn't just a creature. He was the embodiment of the boundary between life and death.
Exactly.
So Eurystheus, thinking he had finally devised the ultimate impossible task, effectively sends Hercules on a literal suicide mission. But what does Hercules' immediate and unwavering acceptance of such a task reveal about his character at this stage? He just does it.
It shows that incredible resolve, that determination that defines him. He doesn't question, he doesn't hesitate, he faces the impossible head-on.
So Hercules accepted this ultimate, seemingly impossible task. His journey to the underworld was no casual stroll, right?
Yeah.
Fraught with peril.
From the very beginning, the entrances to Hades were often depicted as deep, foreboding caves, dark chasms, abyssal lakes, places imbued with profound darkness, fear, a sense of the uncanny.
But before even trying to breach this realm, Hercules took a crucial step. Something about rituals.
Yes, wisely. He underwent initiation rituals into the Eleusinian mysteries, one of the most famous and ancient religious cults of ancient Greece. This wasn't just a formality, it was a profound act, seeking purification, divine blessing, spiritual protection, acknowledging the sheer sacredness and overwhelming danger of what he was about to do.
So it showed respect, not just brawn.
Absolutely. It elevates Hercules beyond a simple strongman. His willingness to undergo these sacred rituals emphasizes his respect for the divine and the cosmic order, even as his mission inherently challenged it.
And once inside the underworld, he didn't go alone. He had help.
Crucial and indispensable divine aid, yes. He was guided by Hermes, the psychopomp.
The messenger god who guides souls.
Exactly. He conducted souls to the underworld and thus knew its winding, treacherous paths intimately. And Athena, his ever-present patron goddess, also accompanied him, offering her invaluable guidance and protection through that terrifying landscape.
Why was her presence so vital?
To prevent him from succumbing to the madness or despair that would surely overwhelm any ordinary mortal in the realm of the dead. It's a place that fundamentally breaks the living.
And as he journeyed through this realm of the dead, navigating its spectral landscapes, Hercules had some truly extraordinary encounters. He didn't just pass through.
No, he interacted with the shades of numerous figures from his past, from classic myth, even his own family history. Our sources mention encounters with the formidable Achilles, the brave Meleager,
Famous heroes.
and also the eternally tortured figures of Tantalus and Sisyphus, perpetually bound to their punishments.
Wow. But perhaps most notably, he freed someone.
Yes, in an act of profound loyalty and compassion, he actually freed his dear friend Theseus from the dreaded chair of forgetfulness,
The chair of forgetfulness, what was that?
a place where Hades had trapped him, erasing his memory, holding him captive. Hercules pulled him free.
Incredible. So these encounters, they underscore the deep connections between the living and the dead.
Absolutely, and Hercules' unique status allowing him to walk among both. He's this liminal figure, capable of traversing these fundamental boundaries.
So if we consider the broader implications,
Yeah.
these events show Hercules is far more than just brute force.
Exactly. His willingness to undergo purification rituals, his reception of divine guidance, his ability to navigate the complex social and spiritual landscape of the underworld, even freeing a friend. It speaks volumes about his cunning, his strategic mind, and his unique place, sort of suspended between the divine and mortal realms.
He's not merely strong. He's insightful, respectful of sacred protocols, and capable of profound loyalty and empathy.
Well put.
Okay, so after navigating the perils and spectral inhabitants of the underworld, Hercules finally stood before the formidable obsidian throne of Hades and Queen Persephone.
The moment of truth. The climax of his perilous journey.
With unwavering courage, he presented his extraordinary request to be allowed to take Cerberus, the fearsome guardian, to the surface.
An audacious demand, given the strict cosmic law no living mortal leaves, let alone takes the primary guardian.
So Hades, the stern, unyielding ruler, he wasn't likely to just say yes, was he?
Not typically. His realm was one of strict order. He rarely permitted mortals to leave, let alone take one of its vital components. However, the myths tell us Hades was indeed impressed.
Impressed by what?
By Hercules' sheer bravery, for one. Few dared even enter his realm, let alone stand before him and make such a demand. His divine lineage, son of Zeus or Jupiter, also commanded a certain respect within the Olympian hierarchy. And perhaps most critically, Hades recognized Hercules' strict adherence to proper protocol throughout his journey, in a realm where order and ancient customs were paramount.
So his following the rules mattered, even in the underworld.
It seems so. These factors combined compelled Hades to consider the impossible.
So Hades, despite his formidable nature, actually agreed to let Hercules attempt to take Cerberus.
He did. But as you might expect from the Lord of the Dead, there was one crucial game-changing condition. A true test of Hercules' innate power and unbreakable will.
What was the condition?
Hercules had to subdue the monstrous Cerberus using no weapons whatsoever, relying only on his bare hands.
No weapons against Cerberus, just bare hands.
Just bare hands. This was the ultimate, almost unfathomable test. A direct confrontation against pure savagery and poisonous might, demanding reliance solely on his inherent physical power and indomitable spirit.
No club, no bow, no arrows. Just raw strength, courage, determination against the hound of hell.
Exactly. This condition transforms the labor from a mere display of brute strength into a profound examination of Hercules' entire being. He was commanded to face the embodiment of death's gatekeepers, a creature of primordial terror with absolutely nothing but his own body and unwavering will.
It wasn't just fighting a beast, but fighting the impossible itself.
A true test of his unbreakable resolve and his commitment to his penance, it stripped away all external aids, forcing him to rely on his core essence as a hero.
And with Hades' grim terms accepted, the final confrontation approached. Hercules had to walk directly up to the terrifying Cerberus, standing vigilant, guarding the gate with unyielding ferocity.
Imagine that sight. The monstrous hound. 3 snarling heads, each exhaling putrid, venomous breath. Its body poised for attack. Vicious lion's claws, a lashing serpent's tail.
This creature, a living embodiment of Hades' dominion, ready to tear apart anyone who dared challenge its domain.
This was it. The final, most brutal, most iconic confrontation of all of Hercules' legendary labors.
The moment that would determine his penance, his redemption, his ultimate immortal legacy. This wasn't just a fight, it was a statement.
A statement of ultimate challenge and resolve, #9. The unarmed battle for the abyss, Cerberus Labor Part 4.
And then the battle began. True to his word, true to Hades' condition, Hercules engaged Cerberus without a single weapon.
And this was no swift, decisive strike. Our sources describe it as a grueling, protracted grapple. a raw struggle of wills and immense power.
He wrestled with the beast, trying to choke its multiple necks simultaneously.
Yes, imagine the sheer difficulty. Trying to subdue 3 snarling, biting heads, each with its own deadly intent, all at once.
Cerberus must have fought back ferociously.
With unimaginable fury. It was a whirlwind of bites, its lion's claws slashing, its serpent's tail lashing out with venomous intent, and its corrosive, poisonous breath assailing Hercules from every head. This wasn't just a physical attack. It was an assault of pure, untamed, primordial savagery.
A relentless onslaught designed to overwhelm and break any mortal spirit.
It truly speaks to the beast's nature as a child of Typhon and Echidna creatures born of immense destructive power.
So the fight was grueling. A display of raw power, endurance, a test of spirit.
Absolutely. Hercules' colossal muscles strained to their limits, the very air thick, burning with the poisonous breath from the hound's multiple maws assailing him relentlessly.
But Hercules had advantages, his lion hide.
Yes, his legendary Nemean lion hide, impervious to weapons and fangs, acted as a powerful shield. And his legendary resilience was unparalleled. He absolutely refused to yield, his determination forged, hardened by years of arduous penance and the ultimate promise of salvation that completing these labors would bring.
So it wasn't just physical strength, but that indomitable spirit, asserting dominance over primordial chaos.
Precisely. This particular moment, the unarmed battle, it's critically important to understanding his ultimate triumph. It moves far beyond just physical prowess. It's a profound testament to his mental fortitude, his absolute refusal to give up, the deep-seated desire to finally complete his penance, even when facing a creature representing the very embodiment of death and the unconquerable.
And slowly, agonizingly, Hercules' strength began to prevail.
Yes, his overwhelming, relentless strength began to take its inexorable toll. Cerberus, the seemingly unbeatable guardian, found its formidable power waning. Its multiple heads, once furiously active, grew sluggish. Its terrifying snarls weakened to ragged gasps.
And finally, after a monumental struggle,
After a struggle that would have broken any other hero, Hercules managed to subdue Cerberus, perhaps by forcing it into a headlock that cut off its breath, or maybe by crushing its spirit through sheer, relentless, unyielding pressure.
a triumph of unbreakable will as much as of unparalleled strength.
Exactly that.
Okay, so Cerberus is subdued, rendered helpless by Hercules' strength and will. What happens next?
Hercules secured the monstrous hound, and then he began the astonishing, unprecedented journey back to the mortal world, dragging the defeated, still growling beast from the profound depths of Hades.
Dragging Cerberus out of the underworld. Can you possibly imagine the sight?
It must have been incredible. The ultimate return from the realm of no return, a tangible triumph over death itself, witnessed in awe and disbelief by the myriad shades of the dead who thought themselves forever trapped.
So this return is symbolically incredibly powerful.
Hugely powerful. It marks a culmination. It signifies not just completing an impossible task, but Hercules' unique ability to bridge that fundamental gap between the living and the dead, to challenge the very boundaries of existence and emerge victoriously. It stands as a profound testament to both his divine nature and his unyielding human will, solidifying his status as a hero capable of defying even death itself.
And then came the moment of King Eurystheus' ultimate reckoning. Hercules brought Cerberus right to him.
Directly to the king's palace. And upon seeing the terrifying three-headed beast from the underworld, Eurystheus was absolutely paralyzed with uncontrollable fear.
What did he do?
Our sources vividly describe him immediately hiding himself in his great bronze jar, screaming at Hercules to get the monstrous creature away from him.
Hiding in a jar, that's pathetic.
It's such an ignominious, utterly pathetic, and truly comical end for the taskmaster who had tormented Hercules for so long. A fitting irony for all his cruelty.
It really serves as the perfect, emphatic punctuation to the narrative arc of the labors, doesn't it?
It does. Eurystheus' abject fear not only validates the utter impossibility of the task in mortal eyes, but also profoundly highlights Hercules' extraordinary superhuman achievement.
So, having completed this truly impossible labor, what did Hercules do with Cerberus?
With calm resolve and unwavering adherence to his promise to Hades, he returned Cerberus to the underworld, fulfilling his sacred obligation.
He returned him. Didn't keep him as a trophy.
No. This final act of returning the beast underscores his adherence to divine protocol and the completion of his deeply personal atonement, finally freeing him from his involuntary servitude.
That scene with Eurystheus, hiding in the jar. It's the perfect culmination. He thought he'd finally gotten rid of Hercules with a death sentence, only to be confronted by the literal hound of hell in his own palace.
It powerfully demonstrates not just Hercules' incredible strength, but his unwavering commitment to fulfilling his obligations, no matter how terrifying or seemingly impossible.
He didn't just win. He finished with grace, an indomitable spirit, and an unmatched sense of completion.
Exactly.
So the story of Hercules, as we've thoroughly explored, isn't just about his incredible individual feats or his journey of penance. His legacy, it permeates so many aspects of history and culture, right? Still resonating today.
Absolutely. Take, for instance, the famous Road of Hercules.
Road of Hercules, what was that?
A renowned route stretching across southern Gaul contemporary France, historically associated with Hercules' 10th labor, retrieving the cattle of Geryon. And our sources recount a fascinating historical detail. Hannibal.
Hannibal, the Carthaginian general.
The very same. He consciously took the very same path on his audacious march to Italy during the Second Punic War. He actively encouraged parallels between himself and Hercules, strategically leveraging the myth to bolster his image and inspire his troops.
So Hannibal wanted to be seen as a new Hercules.
It seems so. He even visited Hercules' shrine at Gades in modern-day Spain and performed his own labors, like fracturing the side of a cliff, blocking his army's advance, aligning his military genius with the superhuman feats of the ancient hero.
Wow. Using mythology to build his own legend.
It's a prime example. And beyond great generals, Hercules' worship was incredibly pervasive throughout the Roman world, though with some interesting debated nuances, particularly concerning female participation.
Right, you mentioned women were usually limited in which cults they could join.
Generally, yes, often limited to feminine cults or those requiring strict chastity. But there's compelling evidence suggesting female worship of Hercules alongside other major gods like Apollo, Mars, Jupiter.
So women might have worshipped him too, despite the restrictions.
It's debated. Our sources, notably ancient authors like Macrobius paraphrasing the venerable scholar Varro and Aulus Gellius, mention a scholarly debate. Were women completely prohibited from all Hercules cults, or only specifically from the Ara Maxima, his greatest altar in Rome?
So the extent is ambiguous.
It remains ambiguous in the historical record. It reflects the complex social norms, but also hints at the hero's broad appeal, maybe transcending typical gender divisions in worship. It opens up an intriguing area of historical inquiry.
And his presence isn't just in historical records or direct worship, it's woven into Roman epic poetry, signifying his importance to their national identity.
Deeply woven. Virgil's Aeneid, the monumental Latin epic, shows Aeneas meeting King Evander, who's making sacrifices to Hercules on the banks of the Tiber, the very heart of future Rome. Evander then recounts Hercules' defeat of Caucasus and Geryon, describing Hercules as this triumphant, civilizing hero who brought order to a wild land.
So integrating Hercules into Rome's foundational myths, making him a figure who paved the way.
Exactly. Even in Hyginus's Fables, a compilation of myths, we hear the poignant account of Philoctetes building a pyre for Hercules as he lay dying. A crucial act that led to his immortality and apotheosis, his transition from mortal hero to revered god.
Underscoring the belief in his divine destiny.
Precisely. And his connection to Roman military victories and the establishment of the state is equally profound. Livy records Romans commemorating military victories with statues to Hercules as early as 305 BCE, showing his early consistent association with triumph.
And Pliny the Elder credits Evander with erecting an early statue in the Forum Boarium.
Yes, a significant marketplace. By the Augustan age, the height of Roman power, there were believed to be at least 5 to 7 temples specifically dedicated to him in Rome, like the Temple of Hercules Musarum and the Temple of Hercules Custos Hercules the Guardian.
He truly embodied military success, courageous protection, Roman expansion.
Inextricably linked to the foundation and ascendancy of Rome itself.
Moving into art, Hercules is instantly recognizable across millennia, right? The lion skin, the club.
His iconic attributes, the fearsome Nemean lion skin draped over his shoulders or head, and his signature gnarled club, often depicted as a massive, rough-hewn cudgel. In ancient Roman mosaics, he's frequently shown with tan, bronze-colored skin, reflecting that virile aspect, a life spent outdoors in strenuous action.
But what's compelling is how modern artists still engage with and reinterpret his image.
Yes, contemporary figures like Jeff Koons, Matthew Derbyshire, Robert Mapplethorpe, they've all offered unique reinterpretations of the iconic Farnese Hercules, that colossal marble statue from antiquity.
And these reinterpretations sometimes reflect contemporary issues.
Exactly. What's fascinating here is how his representation continues to evolve, reflecting and sometimes engaging with contemporary societal discussions. For instance, some critics interpret the choice of deliberately pristine white materials by artists like Koons and Derbyshire as, well, inadvertently perpetuating colorism in how we view the classical world, a kind of whitewashing.
Implying a biased view of history.
Potentially, yes.
Yeah.
In contrast, Robert Mapplethorpe's photographic work, specifically his powerful portraits featuring the black model Derek Cross, is often seen as a direct artistic reaction, resisting the predominant portrayal of Hercules as exclusively white.
So ancient myths become a canvas for current cultural conversations.
Precisely. It powerfully demonstrates that these ancient myths are far from static. They are living narratives, continuously reinterpreted, challenging existing perceptions.
And his legacy pops up everywhere else, too. Coins, military.
Oh, absolutely. In numismatics, the study of coins Hercules was among the earliest figures on ancient Roman coinage, symbolizing strength and authority. Even today, he remains a motif for collector coins, like that Austrian 20-euro Baroque silver coin featuring Hercules ascending a grand staircase.
And the military connections are numerous.
Hugely numerous,
Yeah.
underscoring his timeless association with strength and power. 6 British Royal Navy ships named HMS Hercules. The French Navy had 19 Hercule ships, plus 3 Alcide.
19.
Yes, and U.S., Spanish, Swedish navies used his name too. Countless civilian vessels. The Lockheed C-130 Hercules military transport aircraft, famous for its robustness. Even during World War II, Operation Hercules was the German code name for their abortive invasion of Malta.
So his name signifies strength and strategic importance across the board.
In the collective consciousness, definitely.
And beyond military and art, geography, language.
Right. The Pillars of Hercules, the Strait of Gibraltar, traditionally marking the edge of the known world. The Cudgel of Hercules, a distinctive limestone rock formation, a geological homage. He appears as heraldic supporters in Greek royal arms, though the accompanying phrase, defenders of the crown, sometimes carries negative connotations in modern Greek, like chief henchman.
Interesting nuance there. And of course, the movies.
Ah, yes, the explosion of Hercules in popular culture. That series of 19 Italian Hercules movies in the late 50s and early 60s, starring bodybuilders like Steve Reeves and Reg Park.
Those are huge, weren't they?
Immensely popular, known for mythological adventures, strongman feats. Many English-dubbed Italian films even strategically used Hercules in their title, even if they weren't strictly about him, just to capitalize on his name recognition.
Just slap Hercules on it and people would watch.
Seems like it worked. This vast, diverse array of cultural appearances, from ancient coins and epics to modern art, military aircraft, pop culture films, it truly underscores that Hercules isn't just a character, he's a fundamental archetype.
Representing what exactly?
Deeply ingrained human ideas about strength, the profound challenge of overcoming seemingly insurmountable obstacles, the universal quest for heroism. He adapts, transforms, continues to resonate across cultures and centuries, precisely because his story taps into these universal experiences, embodying the very essence of human perseverance and aspiration. #outro.
Wow. What an incredible deep dive into the legend of Hercules. From his impossible, divinely persecuted birth to his unarmed, grueling battle with Cerberus, and his enduring, transformative influence across millennia in art, warfare, culture. He truly is a figure who embodies unparalleled strength, unwavering perseverance, and remarkable adaptability.
And if we connect this to the broader implications, Hercules' story, particularly that audacious journey into the underworld, it isn't just a tale of physical might, is it? It's a profound exploration of confronting the seemingly unconquerable, of facing one's ultimate, deepest fears, and achieving a victory that fundamentally redefines the limits of the possible.
It's about the triumph of an unbreakable will.
Exactly, in the face of absolute despair, and how true heroism extends far beyond mere muscle. It encompasses courage, cunning, and that indomitable spirit.
So what stands out to you most about Hercules' incredible journey? What does his perseverance in the face of such overwhelming odds mean for us today? Maybe think about that powerful idea from the Renaissance we discussed, that his wisdom and his great soul were ultimately more important than his physical strength in earning him his immortal honors and worldwide reputation. Something to consider. Well, we hope this deep dive into Hercules has given you a fresh perspective and some surprising, enriching insights. We love exploring these stories and bringing you these valuable nuggets of knowledge. Until next time, keep that curiosity ignited.